In the early hours of March 18th, 1943, Jack Mathis took his position as lead bombardier on a critical mission over Vegesack, Germany. Tasked with leading the rest of the squadron, Jack's role was vital for the mission's success. As a bombardier, Jack was not only in charge of leading the bombing location of the entire formation, but was also tasked with guarding with his life a top-secret asset in the American arsenal, the Norden bombsight. As his B-17 Flying Fortress neared the heavily fortified target, it was met with a relentless barrage of anti-aircraft fire. The explosions abruptly shattered the bombardier's nose of the aircraft, and Jack was severely wounded, his right arm shattered, and his body torn by shrapnel. Despite the excruciating pain and the chaos around him, Jack knew the success of the mission and the lives of his squadron depended on precision. He had also promised his brother Mark, a bombardier like him, that they would spend the weekend together upon his return. He sought to accomplish that promise and fulfill his duty. He was the lead bombardier. The mission was doomed if he failed to pinpoint the target's location accurately. He faltered, but duty called him for one last sacrifice. Jack and Mark Mathis grew up in a close-knit family in San Angelo and Sterling City, Texas, where they developed a strong sense of duty and patriotism. Both brothers enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces before World War II, inspired by their love for their country and desire to fly. Their shared determination and commitment to the cause led them through rigorous training to become skilled bombardiers, ready to face the challenges ahead in Europe. Jack's warhorse, the Duchess, the B-17 Flying Fortress, was the most powerful American bomber in the Army Air Corps' arsenal, second only to the mighty and devastating B-29 bomber. It would become a symbol of American air power throughout the entire war, and with good reason. Developed by Boeing in the 1930s, the B-17 was designed to meet the Army's need for a long-range, high-altitude bomber capable of carrying heavy payloads and sustaining significant damage while still completing its mission. Known for its resilience, the B-17 earned its moniker, Flying Fortress, through its ability to endure severe damage and still forge ahead. With a wingspan stretching over 100 feet and a length of 74 feet, the B-17's formidable silhouette was a daunting sight from below. The B-17's robust airframe and self-sealing fuel tanks provided critical resilience. Jack's Duchess, a notable example among these flying fortresses, was armed to the teeth. It boasted up to 13 Browning .50 caliber machine guns, strategically positioned in turrets and flexible mounts. Powered by four robust Wright R-1820 Cyclone engines, each delivering 1,200 horsepower, the bomber reached speeds up to 287 miles per hour and soared to operational ceilings of 35,000 feet, nearly touching the stratosphere. With a bomb load of up to 8,000 pounds, the B-17 could deliver devastating blows to enemy objectives with pinpoint accuracy, thanks to a top-secret asset no other army had developed: the Norden bombsight, a state-of-the-art. The B-17 Flying Fortress was manned by a crew of 10, each fulfilling a critical role. The navigator and bombardier were particularly crucial. The navigator charted the course from takeoff to landing, while the bombardier ensured precise targeting of the bomb payload. Supporting them, the pilot and co-pilot managed flight operations. Gunners defended against attacks. The flight engineer oversaw mechanical integrity, and the radio operator maintained crucial communications. Together, this skilled team orchestrated the complex operations necessary to execute their strategic missions effectively. The success of the mission relied entirely on Jack. As the aircraft's bombardier, he was tasked with accurately unleashing the bomb load on targets that were, on occasions, 5 miles below. Aiming accurately while under enemy flak fire erupting in the skies, with fighters attempting to take the aircraft apart, was far from easy. Still, bombardiers like Jack had a hidden ace up their sleeves to make their daunting job easier, to strike down their targets from above the skies. While attending Victorville Field, one of the Army's newest twin-engine pilot training schools, some 65 miles northeast of Los Angeles, Jack Mathis was introduced to the secret Norden bombsight. Sworn to protect it at all costs, Jack was entrusted with a device pivotal to the U.S. Air Force's dominance in aerial bombardment during the war. This duty was not merely about deploying bombs, but safeguarding the critical secrets of the Norden bombsight, a tool that could tilt the scales of warfare. The stakes were immensely high. If the enemy were to capture this technology, the consequences could be dire. Thus, Jack was instructed that the device must be destroyed rather than let it fall into enemy hands. His mission extended beyond the battlefield. He was a guardian of a secret that could dictate the outcome of the war, carrying the weight of this responsibility in every sortie over enemy territory. Developed by Carl Norden for the Navy in the early 1930s, this unique sight combined optics, a mechanical computer, and an autopilot system that measured the bomber's ground speed and direction, continuously recalculating the bomb's trajectory and impact point. Furthermore, the Norden bombsight used gyroscopes to stabilize the sight, ensuring it remained accurate even in turbulent conditions. The analog calculator could adjust for variables like air density and wind drift. Every bombardier was trusted to guard the device with his life for two reasons. First, it was a state-of-the-art device with features never employed before, giving an edge to American bombers over every other air force. Second, the development and production of the Norden cost around $1.1 billion. Following 12 weeks of intense training operations, where Jack dropped over 200 bombs with his new bombsight, he earned his wings and prepared for war in Europe. Meanwhile, his elder brother, Mark, underwent advanced bombardier training in Midland Army Airfield, Texas, and caught up with Jack before he made way for England in October 1942. As dawn broke over Molesworth, England, the heavy air of anticipation hung around Lieutenant Harold Stouse and his 10-man crew aboard the Duchess. Recently arrived at this Royal Air Force base, they were quickly swept into briefings, their minds fixed on the looming daylight bombing raids over occupied France, a critical mission under the 8th Air Force's 303rd Bombardment Group. Their first combat test came on November 17, 1942. The Kriegsmarine submarine pens at Saint-Nazaire were their target. Jack Mathis, the bombardier, found himself peering through the clear plexiglass nose of the B-17, the vast landscape sprawling below him. That morning, the Duchess, alongside 15 other B-17s, ascended into the cold morning sky. Guided by Major Eugene Romig, the mission was uneventful yet tense, marred only by heavy fog that cloaked their targets, giving Jack his first real taste of war's unpredictability. The true test of their mettle came on December 6th. Over Lille, France, Jack's precision was paramount, as over 20 German fighters and a hail of flak fire challenged their course. Despite the ferocity of the Luftwaffe's defense, Jack's steady hand helped ensure their bombs found the carriage and wagon works, marking a successful mission as they returned with only minor scrapes to their aircraft. But war is a capricious beast. Just days later, mechanical gremlins thwarted their planned strike on Rouen. The disappointment was palpable as the Duchess, among others, turned back, mission unfulfilled. Undeterred, Jack's role reached a crescendo during the massive offensive against the air depot at Romilly-sur-Seine. From 22,500 feet, devastation rained down upon the enemy, even as Luftwaffe interceptors clawed back, leaving their mark on the retreating B-17s. December 30th presented yet another grim dance with doom at the heavily fortified submarine pens at Lorient. This time, the Duchess sat out, undergoing repairs, and Jack flew with Lieutenant Stouse's crew aboard the B-17 Fast Worker Mark II. Over 40 enemy fighters swarmed, claiming 3 of their brethren. Yet, amidst the chaos, Jack's skill shone through, earning him the Air Medal, a testament to his growing legend within the 303rd. The first days of 1943 committed the strength of the Army Air Forces to the Africa campaign. But by late January, Jack Mathis and the 30th were back in action, knocking out the enemy submarine pens at Saint-Nazaire. During these New Year operations, the Army Air Forces developed two innovations to reduce casualties and maximize the damage inflicted on the enemy. Jack Mathis was introduced to the innovative bombing on the leader technique. In this method, bombardiers in formation would release their cargo in sync with the lead bomber, demanding unparalleled precision from the lead bombardier. This tactic was part of a larger strategy, the combat box, a formation tested over Lille, France, Jack's sixth operation, which saw the flying fortresses so tightly knit that the bombers' wings could almost touch each other. Despite the swarms of German fighters, the formation proved effective, turning into an unbreakable wall. By early March 1943, Jack had already flown 13 times, a lucky number that brought him one step closer to the 25 mission mark before he could return home. Before his next departure, Jack met with his brother Mark, who moved out to England after fighting the enemy in North Africa. Major Calhoun assured Jack that following his 14th mission, he would grant him a 3-day weekend pass so that he could spend more time with his brother. The two brothers could not have been happier. Both were seasoned aviators and were eager to exchange war stories. The Duchess's next objective was a big one, and Jack, as one of the best bombardiers in the 303rd, was critical to the operation's success. The objectives were the enemy submarine pens at Vegesack. The mission, scheduled for March 18, 1943, was critical for 3 reasons. First, it would be the most significant American bombing mission yet mounted in World War II, with over 100 aircraft involved. Second, it marked the first time the lead bomber used automatic flight control equipment linked to a Norden bombsight under combat conditions. This meant that the Duchess, as the lead bomber, would transfer control of the aircraft to Jack, the bombardier, during the last moments of the bombing run. The entire mission rested on his shoulders. Shortly before takeoff, Jack and Mark met and promised each other they would go out for drinks upon his return. First Lieutenant Mark Mathis stood on the runway until his brother's bomber disappeared in the skies. As the 100-aircraft formation flew towards the Bremer Vulcan Vegesacker Werft submarine construction yard on the River Weser in Bremen-Vegesack, a dire challenge awaited. Overhead, the skies darkened with the ominous presence of more than 60 Luftwaffe fighters ready to intercept. The air turned tense as the enemy closed in, their engines roaring in defiance. Aboard the B-17s, gunners manned their Browning machine guns with grim determination. As the Luftwaffe fighters swarmed around them, the aircrew fought back fiercely, their guns chattering in rapid bursts as they tried to protect the formation. Yet, the relentless fighters pursued them doggedly, driving them into a cloud of hostile flak fire. Explosions blossomed around the bombers, filling the sky with smoke and shrapnel as the formation pressed on through the gauntlet of enemy defenses. The Duchess, with Jack on board, went forward under enemy fire. As the leading bombardier, Mathis flew through intense and accurate anti-aircraft fire. Just as he began his bomb run, with the entire squadron depending on him to accomplish the mission, the bomber's nose was struck by enemy anti-aircraft fire. Jack's right arm was shattered above the elbow, and a large wound tore into his side and abdomen, knocking him from his bomb sight to the rear of the bombardier's compartment. Realizing that the mission's success depended on him, Mathis dragged himself back to his sight, despite his mortal wounds, through sheer determination and willpower. With immense effort, he released his bombs, ensuring the success of the mission, and then lost his life, his body guarding the Norden bomb site. As a result of Jack's courageous actions, the squadron's bombers delivered their bomb loads with pinpoint, accurate precision on the target, achieving a perfect attack against the enemy. Later that afternoon, when Mark finally spotted the Duchess returning to base, his relief quickly turned to horror as he noticed the Duchess's nose section destroyed. Tears filled his eyes. He knew Jack was gone. Driven by a profound sense of loss and duty, Mark requested a transfer to the Duchess to fill the void left by his brother as the new bombardier. Through a series of successful missions, Mark demonstrated valor and precision, earning a subsequent transfer to the B-17 known as FDR's Potato Peeler Kids. Yet, fate had a tragic twist. During his fourth mission, a desperate bombing operation over Kiel, Germany, Mark Mathis too sacrificed his life, another echo of his brother's heroism. Second Lieutenant Jack Mathis's bravery during the fierce assault over Vegesack, Germany on March 18, 1943, did not go unrecognized. He was posthumously awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, forever immortalizing his valiant actions in aviation history. The brothers' ultimate sacrifice deeply impacted their hometown of San Angelo, Texas, leaving an indelible mark that led to the local airport being renamed Mathis Field in their honor. The Duchess, the aircraft that had borne them into battle, outlived its crew, surviving over 60 combat missions across the European theater. However, its journey ended in August 1945 when it was finally scrapped, closing the chapter on a storied wartime legacy that intertwined the fates of two brothers and their faithful aircraft.